is warning that if a prominent conservative does run as an independent candidate, as Bill Kristol is claiming, it could cost the Republicans the White House. Listen to what Trump had to say in his news conference today about the possibility of a challenger from the right.
I don't think anybody with a reputation would do it because they'd look like fools. But what you're going to do is you lose the election for the Republicans, and therefore you lose the Supreme Court.
As anti-Trump conservatives desperately search for an alternative candidate, some prominent Republicans have taken a pass. One of them is joining me right now. Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger is joining us from his home state of Illinois. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us. As you know, Congressman, sources close to you say you contemplated running literally to save the union because you find the idea of both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton scary, but you decided against doing so. You don't think the infrastructure exists to get on the ballot. If Bill Kristol is promising the organization and the money, would you reconsider and run as a third-party candidate?
No, look, I'm not running, and I'll tell you, I've realized my role. The best I can do is to do the best I can to try to, keep the Republican Party looking like Republicans. A strong national defense, a smaller, more effective government, and I think that's where my best role is. So, yeah, I'm not running for president, but I'll tell you, I'm hoping, and my hope is in this process, that Donald Trump starts to realize he's got to unify this party around Republican principles. And look, it's one thing to be fiery. Fiery's good. We want to see that in a presidential contender. It's another thing just to be personal. And I hope he reconsiders his tone in this and really begins to focus on what it takes to be president of the United States.
If he were to reconsider, would you consider supporting him?
Look, I'm never a never Trump guy. So what I've said is I'm not there yet because, again, in my mind, it's really important to have somebody that, is worthy of the job of Ronald Reagan and Abraham Lincoln, people that can inspire people to something bigger, that reminds them they live in the greatest country in the world. So, yeah, if he begins to change his tone and act like a president, I'd love to support the Republican nominee. I'm a Republican. But, at the same time, I'm an American before I'm a Republican, and so I do have some concerns. I'm definitely never Hillary. Don't worry about that. I'm not going to support Hillary. But I hope I can get there with Donald Trump.
Who approached you about the possibility of running as a third-party candidate?
Well, look, like I said, I'm not running, but it's a high bar for anybody that decides to. It needs to be somebody, if somebody decides to run, that probably comes with some solid campaign infrastructure, that has the resources behind it. And look, every day that goes by, that's getting less and less likely. And it looks like we're going to be down to, Donald Trump, potentially Gary Johnson, Bernie Sanders, or Hillary, whoever wins that fight. And those are going to be the candidates you go from. And, again, my hope is to get there with Donald Trump.
But I'm just trying to get a sense, Congressman, how serious this overture to you about possibly running was. Who came to you and said, Congressman Kinzinger, this might be a good idea to get you into this campaign?
Well, I won't get into any details of any conversations that did or didn't happen. I can tell you I'm not running for president. I'm excited to continue to represent the 16th District of Illinois. And my goal now over the next 5 months is just to do the best I can to mirror Republican platform, Republican plank, and to talk about a strong defense and a strong America, an America that understands that the world needs us and we need the world. And so that's where I'm going to spend the next 5 months, and hopefully Donald Trump begins to reflect some of those values, and I can get on board.
What did you think of his performance today at that news conference? He really went after, you saw the news media.
It was surprising. Again, it's hard to tell if this is an act or if it's real. The fact is, whoever is going to be president of the United States and whoever is going to run for it has to have very thick skin. And you're going to be criticized from all corners of the globe. And the second you accept the mantle of president of the United States, you're going to have world leaders all over that criticize you, not to mention the media. And the media needs to be critical of a president and a presidential candidate. That's their role. I was a little concerned by what seemed to be just a really kind of personal reaction to a very good deed that Donald Trump did. Giving, over $5 million to veterans causes is a great thing. I think he should have taken that as an opportunity to celebrate, but there's a method to what he does, I guess. It worked in the primary, and we'll see if it works in a general.
It's not just the news media. He's still railing against the governor of New Mexico, Susana Martinez, for not supporting him, not showing up at that rally he did in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's other Republicans as well. it's possible, and I don't know if you've ever spoken to Donald Trump, do you think it's possible he will evolve, change, so that you could go forward and support him?
I sure hope it's possible. I sure do. And like I said, I'm a Republican. I never could have imagined, having a hard time getting behind the Republican nominee. But attacking Governor Martinez, she's a fantastic governor. She's Latina, which is very important for our party to begin to reach out to bring folks in, to be a party that welcomes folks. And so, look, again, maybe this is an act. I hope it's an act, because I hope it's not that he doesn't take any kind of criticism this personally, because, again, it's going to be a really tough job should he win. Yeah,
and it's not just Susana Martinez. It's that judge in that case that's overseeing the Trump University fraud allegations. He really went after that judge as well. You're a veteran. You're a veteran of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. You believe that what he's trying to do to help veterans is genuine or not so much?
Yeah, I'm going to say yes, because, you never want to impute bad motives. I think he loves the veterans. I think that's obvious. In fact, here at Veterans Hall in Rockford, Illinois, we're going to be doing a town hall to honor. But, at the end of the day, look, he gave over $5 million. That's a great thing. I do believe he has the veterans' best interests in mind. But this is the other issue. I don't really know a single politician that doesn't like the veterans. I mean, these are heroes. These are people that were willing to put their lives on the line for their country. And this is where it's imperative on us in Washington, when we deal with veterans-related issues, to make sure that we're giving them all the resources they need. So, yeah, I think he's legitimate in his appreciation for them.
As I said, you served in Iraq and Afghanistan. A question about what's going on in Iraq right now. Do you know anything about reports that Iranian Shiite militias backed by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard are currently, in effect, leading the military offensive to destroy ISIS in Fallujah?
Well, I don't know those details, but I can tell you, if that's the case, we sure need to do some diplomacy to make sure that this does not have a Shia front on a liberation of Fallujah. The concern that would happen there is if you have Shia militias enter basically predominantly Sunni territory, you never can tell what the abuses that these militias, and by the way, some of these are responsible for the death of Americans, is important to note too, and Iran during our time in Iraq. You never know what they're going to do in retribution. There's going to be a lot of political reconciliation that needs to happen. The liberation is the very first part of that, kicking ISIS out. But then it's figuring out how to give a voice to the minorities there, figuring out how to give a voice to those folks in government, so that, like we had in 2011 when we left, we had a fairly inclusive government. A lot of work still to be done, but it was fairly inclusive compared to what, fell apart and dissipated right in front of ISIS on their attack a few years ago.
Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, not running for president of the United States, at least not this year. Still a young guy. He's got plenty of opportunities down the road. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us.